Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back here to the full story on WYAB 103.9 on this very cold and wet Friday. Always the best two combinations you can have for weather, cold and wet. It's the reason I hate snow. Luckily, we've been down here in Mississippi. We've been lucky not to have any snow. Snow, again, is the worst type of precipitation there is, despite much of the country being engulfed in snow the last week, I guess, or last week or so. Luckily, we've been avoiding that, but it has gotten both cold and wet, which is again the worst two combinations. But I guess cold and wet is better than the wildfires that are going on in California still today. And that's going to be our first story that we're going to talk about this morning is the wildfires, the growing, how it's still going pretty much out of control there. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about how it's grown as well as as well as uh, now it's very funny. The liberal elite down there. This has affected a lot of Hollywood and the stars. A lot of their houses have been affected, and how their tone has changed a little bit now that's affecting them. And now they're starting to see the failures of the Democratic Party. Of course, lucky for them, they can easily move out of there, unlike several other people who've lived there for their whole lives or for generations who can't easily move. They just don't have the money to. But it's funny how they're starting to see that, and how the cracks maybe start showing in the Gavin Newsom government. We're also going to talk about this morning. We're going to move to the Donald Trump hearing, which is going on regardless today, after the Supreme Court rejected a bid from his attorneys to try to delay that sentencing. So that will go forward today. We're going to discuss that. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about TikTok and the TikTok ban that's also going in front of the courts today as well. So, big day in the courts while Southern California burns. So, like I said, a lot of stuff going on throughout the country. So we have a lot to cover. If you want to call in at any time during the show or during the break, number 601-879-0002. But we'll go ahead and take our first break right here. And when we get back, we'll get right into the California wildfires. So keep it tuned here to the full story on WYAB 103.9.
So just again, it's preliminary and it's absolutely going to change. But as of right now, and we stated this yesterday, we do have
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the full story on WYB 103.9. Sorry, I was you could call a little bit there of the fire chief. I was getting the video ready to play for you guys. It's sounding kind of interesting with the music in the background. If you're on the live stream, obviously you don't hear the music lead in that goes in there. But I do want to I want to move now to the to the California wildfires. And it is, like I said, it's still continuing to grow as the two biggest wildfires ravaging the Los Angeles area have killed at least 10 people and burned more than 10,000 homes and other structures, officials said, as they urged more people to heed evacuation orders after a new blaze ignited and quickly grew. So the Kenneth Fire started in the late Thursday afternoon in the San Fernando Valley, just 2 miles from a school serving as a shelter for evacuees from another fire. It moved into neighboring Ventura County, but a large and aggressive response by firefighters stopped the flames from spreading. And I wanted to just share with, if you're on the live stream, you can. I'll just have it move through some of these photos that is. That's coming from the that's coming from this. It's kind of crazy to see some of these images. As you can see, just the devastation that's starting to go through, and these are AP images, by the way. That is absolutely just going through the how devastating it's getting, and the emotional toll that it's taking of people. So about 400 firefighters have remained on scene overnight to guard against the fire flaring up. And only hours before the Kenneth Fire roared to life, officials expressed encouragement after firefighters, aided by calmer winds and help from crews from outside the state, saw the first signs of successfully beating back part of the devastating wildfires. The level of devastation is jarring, even in a state that has grown to being used to massive wildfires. A large portion of scenic Pacific Palisades has been obliterated. Dozens of blocks in the seaside neighborhood were flattened to smoldering rubble, and in neighboring Malibu, blackened palm strands were all that was left above debris where oceanfront homes once stood. And again, you're seeing some of those images here on the live stream if you're watching it there. At least 5 churches, a synagogue, 7 schools, 2 libraries, boutiques, bars, restaurants, banks, and groceries have been burned. So too with a Will Rogers Western Ranch House and Topanga Ranch Motel, local landmarks dating back to the 1920s. The government has not yet released figures on the cost of the damage or specifics about how many structures were burned. However, AccuWeather, a private company that provides data on weather and its impact, on Thursday increased its estimate of damage and economic loss to $135 to $150 billion. That's billion with a B. I wonder how all those Democrats are thinking now about sending those hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine instead of our own country, as our own country faces, again, potentially hundreds, and it's still going. This is nowhere near getting contained at this point. So if it's already at 130 to 150, you could easily double that by the time it's over. And you start to wonder about the hundreds of billions we send over to Ukraine. Firefighters made significant gains Thursday at slowing the spread of the major fires, but containment remained far out of reach. Crews also knocked down a blaze in the Hollywood Hills with the help of water drops from aircraft, allowing an evacuation to be lifted Thursday. The fire that sparked late Wednesday near the heart of the entertainment industry came perilously close to igniting the famed Hollywood Bowl outdoor concert venue. And it's always good to know that the Hollywood area is safe. They have made it the Hollywood Hills. It's so funny how they somehow managed to get a big plane with water to Hollywood Hills, while some of these other places didn't get that as soon. But sharing some of the images here. Again, you can see in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, it's just completely flattened. It looked like a bomb had gone through there. It's reminds me a lot seeing it next to the palm trees and the beach. It reminds me a lot of the Lahaina fire in Maui just a couple years ago, which also just completely leveled all those homes. So crews also knocked down. Oh, sorry, I talked about the blaze. Of the 10 deaths so far, Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crawley confirmed 2 were in the Palisades fire. County officials said the Eaton fire had killed 5. Cadaver dogs and crews are searching through rubble to see if there are more victims. And there's undoubtedly, unfortunately, probably going to be more because a lot of this stuff is still smoldering. It still has hot coals. So it may be a long time before we get to go in there to get the full extent of how much human life has been taken from this. And unfortunately, for a lot of these, you're not even going to learn until much later. As for a lot of people, it burns so hot, there's not going to be much remains left. This is an interesting and sad part, but 2 of the dead were Anthony Mitchell, a 67-year-old amputee, and his son Justin, who had cerebral palsy. They were waiting for an ambulance to come and did not make it to safety when the flames roared through. Mitchell's daughter, Hajim White, told the Washington Post about that unfortunate story. Because again, it's a lot of times it's the people who aren't able like that to be able to move, to be able to get out of the way. But a few more of these images, as you can see, there's this satellite image that shows the Eaton fire on Wednesday, and it looks like the city is lit up from like just lights, but it's actually fire, and it's actually really crazy to see just that amount of devastation. So I'm gonna move off of that now. And I want to just briefly play from the firefighters down there, some of the captains, about what they're saying, how much of that fire is contained. So this is them there. If I get this on.
So just again, it's preliminary and it's absolutely going to change. But as of right now, and we stated this yesterday, we do have confirmed 5 deaths between Palisades and the Eaton fire. But that number again is going to change as more information comes in and when we start to get into the damaged area.
So the Eaton fire is now estimated to be 13,690 acres. It's grown since our morning press conference because the fire is making a run towards the historic Mount Wilson area. We are still at 0% containment, but we now have a better estimation of the number of fire personnel assigned to the incident. We're now at 1,527 personnel assigned, and like this morning, additional mutual aid resources to continue to arrive to assist in the firefight.
We have had approximately 400 National Guard members throughout the state ready to support us, and as I just stated, they will be coming in. Our goal is to attempt to implement a curfew within the specific impacted areas around the 2 fire areas, both for Palisades and Eaton. As we work through the legal process to get that done, the goal is to try and implement it tonight. If we're not able to do that, that may happen maybe by tomorrow night.
So there you see it's just the amount of destruction, how many acres is being destroyed there. And it's just and then looking at also putting in a curfew, getting those people out is going to be such a big deal. But that turns to the next thing is, how is it? How has this thing been started? How has what exactly went on? And obviously, it's still early on in there, but people are starting to question exactly how that has started. As people have now started floating the arson theories, including many celebrities. So as the Los Angeles fires continue to consume parts of it, they're just wondering, well, how's this started? Now, again, step one, the major priority has got to be to containment as much as possible before you can really start investigating. But authorities have deployed arson investigators to the Pacific Palisades area to determine the origin of the blaze. Los Angeles Fire Chief Kristen Crawley said yesterday that the cause of the fire remains unknown and it continues to be under active investigation. But several celebrities are going ahead and calling it arson. So Henry Winkler, also known as the Fonz, says there's an arsonist here in L.A. May you be beaten, you unrecognizable. Sorry, that's bad English by Henry Winkler there, trying to weed his treat. May you be beaten unrecognizable. It should be like a little sick there. Maybe beaten unrecognizable, the pain you have caused. Actress Allison Sweeney responded, agreed. Singer Chris Brown, who's known to beat people up, speaking about people up, especially women, took to Instagram stories on Thursday and wrote, "Someone starting these fires, crap, don't add up." Dancing with the Stars pro Peter Murgatroyd, I can't say that, shared a tweet that was originally posted by political and cultural personality Xavier DeRusso that reads, "Los Angeles, Southern California, there are at least 5 men going around in ski masks starting fires. Keep an eye out." And so, like I said, you're gonna get a lot of information about this as it comes in. As people are looking to blame, in Hawaii, what started the Lahaina fires in Hawaii was poor electrical grid. The Hawaiian Electric Company had a poor electrical grid, which then started the fires. Again, Southern California though is known for its fires. It's had these wildfires in the past, but this one is large even by that imagination. So whether that has to do with the dryness, you add to the fact of the water issues that we talked about yesterday, the water pressure issues. There have been several things that the government passed to try to improve water pressure issues that the people there have paid for with reservoirs and things like that. What happened to that money? What happened to those projects? Unknown. And because it's the California is completely run by liberals from the bottom all the way up, especially in this area, you're never going to have a truthful investigation unless there's a federal investigation. And hopefully Trump will do such a thing when he gets into office. That's one bad thing that's for them, is that Trump's coming in office in just a few days. And so he can, if we're talking about arson or things like that, he can deploy the FBI, he can deploy other investigative agencies to try and to have a federal investigation, something that's separate, especially if the government itself could be responsible for it. And whether it's criminally responsible or not, it's a different story. But there's no doubt that there's been a lot of money that has been completely wasted in that state by liberal policies that definitely hasn't done anything to help this. Or to try to prevent this. Now, I'm not saying that this could have ever been prevented. I never want to reach out there and say, hey, a politician could stop this, right? Could have stopped this. I don't think we're all that powerful. As I said yesterday, nature is a completely awesome force, and there's not much you can do about it. We're not that all powerful as humans. So even though we like to think we are, and some things, natural disasters just happen. Like I said, the question is going to be in the response and how, if anything could have mitigated it, and if that could, why wasn't those mitigation efforts in place beforehand? Or were those mitigation efforts put in place, but they weren't funded, or money was diverted elsewhere? Those are the types of things politically you have to look at. But there'll be no accountability. It is California. They keep voting in the same people. So it's going to be the continuously same thing over and over again. And it looks like we got a call coming in here. We got some time to get a little bit of time to take that. You're on the full story.
Good morning. My name is William. A little background. I'm a volunteer firefighter and also a truck driver.
Okay.
Spends pretty much every other week out in California. So I wanted to
Okay.
throw a couple of things out here. First off, the reason this fire is so bad, the geography. You've got mountains just to the east of LA, about 1.5 miles, 10,000 feet tall. So you've had all this wind coming over the top of those mountains after it's come through the desert and basically been dried out. When it drops down from those mountains, it's got to drop 1.5 miles before it gets to the coast.
Wow.
So it's going to speed up. It's naturally dry. So just perfect conditions, kind of like Katrina back in the day. But the biggest thing I wanted to bring up, since I hear a lot of local politics out there,
Yeah.
Recently, LA County cut the fire department's budget by $17 million to go
Really?
to other feel-good programs, if you will.
Yeah.
And to top it off, something that's not really made the national news is about 1.5 years ago, LA County also donated all their extra firefighting equipment, turnout gear, this, that, and the other they had in storage to Ukraine.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
So it's coming back. You know, it's a bad disaster. Yes. You know, prayers for all the people affected, the first responders. I was out there 2 days ago, coming through Texas now, right before it started.
Yeah.
And I drive through that area on the 101 all the time. I can't imagine when I get back out there. But
Oh man.
there's not a lot that could have been done to prevent this, but there is a lot that should not have been cut. That should not have been. Hey, we've got extra equipment. You don't take your prep food storage and go give it all away.
Well, yeah.
And
I mean,
that's basically what they did.
and it's interesting you say that because I mentioned Ukraine just a little bit earlier. These liberals have been all for Ukraine, all doing that to how much extent now, right? To the fact that now it's costing lives.
Right.
And the Los Angeles County, as you said, to me, like you said, you couldn't probably have prevented it, but how you're mitigating it if you don't have those resources, and they've purposely hurt those resources for whatever their own little political agenda has. Now it's cost lives, and that's what someone has to
Right.
be accountable for.
Yeah, speaking of Hollywood earlier, I was reading one of the, we'll call them celebrities or whatever, made a comment. This is not climate change. This is us not being prepared.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
usually when we hear about a fire in California, climate change is climate change that. No, it's the conditions there are natural for fires, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And this, much like Katrina, this was a perfect storm with those 40, 50 mile an hour dry winds.
Yeah. The Santa Ana
Literally,
winds.
think of a leaf blower on a campfire.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they've got out there right now. So,
Absolutely.
but
Well, we really appreciate your insight, sir. When are you heading back? You heading back there anytime soon?
I am. I've got to be in Biloxi about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and then I am coming home.
Well, I tell you,
after about 2 weeks out.
I tell you, call back in next week. I'd love to hear about any kind of update you have on what you saw out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to the inauguration this coming Monday, so I won't be back out there until about 1.5 weeks. But yeah, I'm gladly. I'm interested to get back out there myself because, like I said, I came down out of Gilroy, which is just south of San Francisco on the 101 a few days ago, and through Hollywood Hills on the 101, Thousand Oaks, that whole area. I pick up and deliver out there all the time, so it's going to be interesting. I'll grab some photos and email them to you firsthand.
Yeah, please do. The full story FM@gmail.com, regulatorsproductions.com, either one of those. We love to hear from everybody. I'd love to see those. I'd love to share them with our listeners as well. So I really appreciate your phone call, sir.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great afternoon.
You too, and stay safe.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, excellent firsthand account there. Love to hear those kind of things, those kind of phone calls come through. And that's very interesting. I'm going to do some more research on what he said about the handing over equipment to Ukraine, because that would not surprise me one single bit, not even a little bit. I haven't seen reports of that, so I'm glad that he had brought that up, because I want to do some more research and some more investigation into that, because again, that would not surprise me at all. how they have just completely given over everything, not even thinking about their own people. They want to do it for their own political gain. Oh, look at us. We're being real nice to Ukraine, while now their own people suffer, which is really the whole gist of what Democrats do. They'll make others suffer for political gains. All right, we're going to take a break or another break right here. When we get back, I want to talk about the Donald Trump sentencing that's happening today. We also want to get to the story about TikTok and its fight and its battle. Something that that Clay Edwards, who comes on after me, he's really big into the TikTok. He's got a lot about he's got a lot of thoughts about TikTok is big thing for him. But I want to discuss that from a legal perspective as well. So keep it tuned here to The Full Story on WYAB 103.9. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the full story on WYAB 103.9 as we get to our next story. Obviously, we are just now 10 days from the from inauguration, so it is rapidly approaching. And the one thing that's going to happen before then, though, is Donald Trump will be sentenced in the political persecution, which was the case in Manhattan. And so, in a singular moment in U.S. history, President-elect Donald Trump faces sentencing Friday for his New York hush money conviction after the nation's highest court refused to intervene. So, a sharply divided Supreme Court yesterday rejected President-elect Donald Trump's final bid to put his New York hush money case on hold, clearing the way for him to be sentenced for the felony crimes days before he returns to the presidency. The court's 5-4 order allows Judge Juan M. Merkin to impose a sentence Friday on Trump, who was convicted in what prosecutors called an attempt to cover up a hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. Of course, Trump has always denied any liaison with Daniels or any wrongdoing. So Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett being a Trump appointee, joined with the court's 3 liberals in rejecting his emergency motion. The majority found his sentencing wouldn't be an insurmountable burden during the presidential transition, since Merkin has indicated that he won't give Trump jail time, fines, or probation. Trump's attorneys had asked the sentencing to be delayed as he appeals the verdict, but the majority of justices found his arguments can be handled as part of the regular appeals process. And so Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Brett Kavanaugh were the judges who ruled that the could be delayed. Now, Trump says he respects the high court's order and will pursue an appeal that could hold up and that could end up before the high court again. In fact, I say it will end up before the high court again. He said, "I respect the court's opinion. I think it was actually a very good opinion for us because you saw what they said, but they invited the appeal, and the appeal is on a bigger issue. So we'll see how it works out." He said that at a dinner with Republican governors at his private club in Florida. And I think that's actually the good thing about this. And while I'm not too perturbed about the Supreme Court justices here, because in reality, what it allows doing, and you can see kind of Donald Trump's attitude on that as well, is that it's going to speed up here the appeals process. Because I honestly think that this is going to be overturned on appeals if it makes it to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, there's mostly liberal justices all the way up to the New York state courts. And that's kind of the interesting thing about this, right? So it's not a federal conviction, it is a state conviction. So it has to work its way through the state courts first before the Supreme Court will look at it. So it has to go all the way through the New York Court of Appeals, which is their highest court. So it has to go through that whole process first before it can make it to the Supreme Court, which is quite a deal. So what this does is it essentially allows it to be quicker. It can be handled hopefully while Donald Trump is still in office. That way there's a little more political pressure, I think, to get the right result. So to me, that's why I'm not too perturbed by it, because we had done this, then it would have been delayed until Trump is out of office. And at that point, Trump has no sway. There's no authority there. I mean, I guess in one way, from a legal standpoint, that's maybe a reason why you'd want to delay it as a judge, is so, hey, get it to when he's after this. There is no look of impropriety, I guess. It could be an argument of why it needs to be there, from an argument neither side made, or really, because I don't think either side wanted to argue that, because the Trump attorneys didn't want to argue that, because that would assume that Trump would have a kind of a finger on the scale of justice, and so they're not going to admit that. And the prosecution, or the liberals, I would say, they also didn't want to say that Trump would have that kind of power either. So it was kind of an argument that I think could, if there was any legitimate argument, that to me would have been, from a legal standpoint, would have been the one. But it's that one that neither side made. But this essentially, again, allows now for that conviction to quickly, or as I say quickly, quicker, more quickly, if that's proper English, get to the Supreme Court itself. And so, like like so much else, like so much else in the criminal case in the current American political landscape, the scenario set to unfold in the Manhattan courtroom was really unimaginable only a few years ago. The fact that we would get to a point where we are prosecuting political rivals, and so the fact, like I said, that this is ever a thing is just something that's never happened in American history. And like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this changes going forward. So with Trump 10 days from inauguration, Judge Juan Merkin has indicated he plans a no penalty sentence called an unconditional discharge, and prosecutors aren't opposing it. That would mean no jail time, no probation, and no fines would be imposed. But of course, nothing is final until Friday's proceeding is done. So essentially, he gets no punishment, which to me, again, this is why I think Merkin wanted to get it done with too, so he could say he gives him no punishment, and which to me says, which I think underscores that this is political itself. Because if you're going to give no sentence, then there's no wrong done. This was just political. This is purely political. But I mean, bottom line, because you don't prosecute someone and not have any kind of punishment. It's like, yep, we got the conviction, good to go. You're free. Have fun. Thanks for your time. We got our conviction. We're good. That's all we cared about. No punishment. You just go ahead and go about your day. That just doesn't happen, right? Unless there's some really, really extreme extenuating or mitigating circumstances to a crime. I mean, it does exist, right? It does, as I said, the unconditional discharge does exist. It does happen, right, in other cases. But usually that's when there's extreme extenuation and mitigation, really extenuating circumstances. So imagine something that doesn't quite lead to a complete innocence in doing a crime, but like I said, the factors themselves are so extenuating that we're going to let the person go. I'm going to give an extreme example, but say for instance, a woman who's been consistently abused and or raped by her partner, and one day she just had enough and she just went in there and shot him, right? Obviously, it's murder. She wasn't then currently under threat, so there's not a self-defense plea or self-defense defense that could apply. I mean, you would argue it if you're a defense attorney, obviously. You would try to first go with that hey, she was always under threat. It could have happened any time. You could always do that. But for whatever reason, legally, the jury didn't believe you. And the judge's like, hey, this is like, she was put through hell here. She was living in a prison for however many years. I'm not saying the judge won't say the guy deserved it, but the guy deserved it. So they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna let her go about her day, or nothing else. Maybe just put her on probation. But that would be an extreme circumstance that I can think of just off the top of my head. But this case, right? The extenuating circumstance in this case is that it was made up. That's the extenuating circumstance, is that this was a made up crime for made up facts with, it was just stuff that wasn't even a crime. So if it's made up, I think that's a pretty extenuating circumstance if the whole thing is made up itself. Like I said, so he is expected to appear by video from his Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida, and will have an opportunity to speak. I don't imagine he would. I guess he has nothing to lose, but I would highly doubt. I wouldn't give them the essentially what would make it look like it's a legitimate court by me speaking, right? I'll show up by VTC. I'm not showing in person, and I'm not gonna legitimize this court by giving a statement, right? Again, they're waiting on appeals. They got a strong appeals case. It will be overturned. So again, no reason for him to speak. Like I said, it is. It would be. He's doing this unconditional discharge to avoid the constitutional issues that would arise if he imposed a penalty that overlapped with Trump's presidency. which is essentially, again, why the Supreme Court said he go through, because the judge has indicated that this is what's going to happen. So the judge is pretty much going to have to do it. The Supreme Court is pretty much forcing him to do that, which, again, in a way, right, this is why that Supreme Court's decision wasn't a bad thing either, because what it does is it essentially forces Merkin's hand to give this unconditional discharge. Again, if this was delayed till after Trump's presidency, then that could not happen, or he gives some other kind of penalty to him. By forcing it to happen now, it forces an unconditional discharge. So that is so again that I think in a way, again, how that Supreme Court decision can help Trump. Again, it's kind of ridiculous we got to go through this little charade, but it is what it is. But I think it's someone that, because Amy Coney Barrett, obviously she was a Trump appointee. She's had some great opinions as a Supreme Court justice. I've been very impressed with her as a Supreme Court justice. So when I saw that, that she was of the two conservatives, I'm not too surprised by John Roberts. He's been kind of wishy-washy on a lot of things. Her, not so much. So the fact that she did it makes me wonder. Like I said, if she was doing it for a strategic reason for Trump. And again, Trump's statements afterwards, he's like, "Yeah, I respect it. I think it's not a bad decision." That also tells me that I think they understood that, hey, this could be a strategic win for us, regardless. So Bragg's office said in a court filing Monday that they continue with, he committed serious offenses that cause extensive harm. I'm putting up, if you're not watching on the live stream, I'm putting up air quotes on those things. Again, if it's such a serious offense with extensive harm to the sanctity of the electoral process, then why are you giving unconditional discharge? It's not that bad, right? Because, again, made up. But anyway, we'll see how it turns out. It could be if he tries to impose any kind of sentence, and that's obviously going to be held up. The Supreme Court is going to come down hard. So he's, like I said, he's forced to do this. He's forced to give this sentence, and then Trump's going to be president in 10 days, and we'll see what kind of investigations happen in regards to that. Because, as I said before, there needs to be some serious investigation into that. But talking about courts and the Supreme Court, I got just a couple minutes left. I want to talk briefly about TikTok, because one of the most important cases of the social media age, free speech and national security collide at the Supreme Court today in arguments over the fate of TikTok, a wildly popular digital platform that roughly half the people in the United States use for entertainment and information. TikTok says it plans to shut down the social media site in the U.S. by January 19th, unless the Supreme Court strikes down or otherwise delays the effective date of a law aimed at forcing TikTok's sale by its Chinese parent company. Essentially, the rule that was set down was that they must be owned by they must sell their American business to an American company. So TikTok and China-based ByteDance, as well as content creators and users, argue the law is a dramatic violation of the Constitution's free speech guarantee. They said, quote, lawyers for the users and content creators wrote, rarely if ever has a court confronted a free speech case that matters to so much people. So this was, again, a law that was passed down by President Biden, and he signed that law back in April after it was approved by a wide bipartisan majorities in Congress, and he contends that no one can seriously dispute that China's control of TikTok through ByteDance represents a grave threat to national security, essentially afraid that they may steal Americans' information. Officials say Chinese authorities can compel ByteDance to hand over information on TikTok's U.S. patrons or use the platform to spread or suppress information. But the government concedes that it has no evidence China has ever attempted to do so, TikTok told the justices. In December, a panel of 3 appellate justices, 2 appointed by Republicans and 1 by a Democrat, unanimously upheld the law and rejected the First Amendment speech claims. So we're running out of time here. So basically, like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. It doesn't look too good we'll see what the arguments are. We'll have that a better coverage of that on Monday after we hear the arguments, and we'll kind of cover those arguments from both sides. But it is an interesting thing: is that where does the free speech happen? Does it happen in the speech itself, or does it happen also? Does that extend to the platform in which the speech is had? That's really, to me, the legal question here. The speech, obviously is protected, but is the platform on which the speech is hosted, is that protected? To me, that's the question. And if so, what is the standard for saying national security versus the platform, right? Because First Amendment can be curtailed; it's not all encompassing. So what's the standard for that? And in this case, does the national security concern meet that standard? All right, we're going to take our last break right here. We'll get back. We'll do This Day in History, but keep it tuned to the full story on WYAB 103.9. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to The Full Story on WIB 103.9. As we get to this day in history, we're going to run out of time here live on the air, but we're going to have a couple minutes right after that's going to continue on the live stream to get fully into the story. So if it cuts off, we will be on that live stream where you can see it there. But from this day on history, so on this day, January 10th, 1776, Thomas Paine published his influential pamphlet, Common Sense, which became one of the most important works advocating for American independence from Great Britain. Four key points from Common Sense were: one, critique of the monarchy and hereditary rule. He criticized the concept of monarchy and hereditary succession, arguing that such systems were inherently unjust and incompatible with the principles of liberty and equality. Two, a call for an independence. He directly challenged the legitimacy of British rule over the American colonies, asserting that independence was not only desirable but necessary for the future prosperity and freedom of the colonies. Three, vision for the republic, laid out for a democratic republic where power would derive from the people rather than a distant monarch or aristocracy. And four, an appeal to practicality, which is what we're getting back to here with Donald Trump, in that he argued that the remaining tie to Britain hindered America's economic growth, political freedom, and ability to form alliances. So that return to practicality, as I'm hoping, is something we're going to see in 10 days. Of course, Common Sense had a great impact on writing the Declaration of Independence, which came just a little bit later. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. We'll see you back here on Monday. My name is Matthew Bishop, and you've heard The Full Story.